whenever we talked, I talked about challenging some of these guys to step up on the outside and make plays. In the last week, I've been really, really pleased with what we've seen, the response we've seen from those guys. And that's something that, look, it is what it is. I think the thing that's been fun about this team is when you challenge them, they respond. Guys in particular, Kadarius Wade has had a great camp. Rajee Dennis, I thought, started slow to that point, and then this last week, gets challenged and plays really well, makes a bunch of plays. So, Trent's continued to play well as he's coming back into it. Russ has had a great camp. Tight ends are playing really good. At the end of spring, I talked about being really concerned about our depth at tight end behind our two starters. Really, really pleased with, Teddy Golick, Quandre Coates, Emiliano Soldevilla, and the camp they've put together. So, it's been fun to see guys respond to the challenges. As far as injuries go, we know Caleb Edwards is going to be out for a while. Shelton's starting to work his way back into it, in rehab, and he's running and doing some of those things. He's still out for practice, but it's good to have him feeling better, moving back to it. We did have two guys that did have to have surgery, this past week with Braylon Walker. He had his surgery. I don't want to get too specific on it, but basically like a groin injury. Should be like a 4 to 6 week deal from what I understand. And then Landon Strother, we found out last Wednesday after we met that he did have a small fracture in his collarbone, so it was plated. 4 to 6 weeks is what that return of play looks like. So we're certainly hoping for 4, which would put him back right around the beginning of the season. So it's kind of that point in time. You got some guys that are in and out a little bit with some things, but for the most part, we're working through it. And the reality of it is, at this point in camp, I think this is when any coach who's done this, for a little while and been around it for a while will tell you, like, this is an important part of camp. You're still a couple weeks away from playing a game. The newness and the excitement has worn off a little bit. But these practices are critically important. I think this is where you create consistency on your team. This is where, you need the effort and the energy to show up every day. And then the execution's got to continue to clean up. At this point, there's really not much install left. Now it's about detailing the things that you're doing and trying to do them better than you have been. So I've been pleased with the effort and the intensity. I'm really proud of the guys that we've challenged and the responses that they've had to the challenges. But certainly, there's a lot more that we need to detail before we're ready to kick the ball off and play a game. But, this past week was really good. Really looking forward to what we have in front of us this week and, watching these guys finish this camp strong.
Of the receivers that you talked about, are any of them doing different things, like running different kind of routes, more so than they have in the past? Like Caleb, Kadarius, is he doing things differently than he was?
He's doing it really consistently is what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's making plays down the field. He consistently, he is, making the routine plays look routine, which, at points in time he hasn't. And I think a lot of it had just to do with his consistency to the approach to it. Out of 11 practices, he's had 10 really good ones, and the one that wasn't good was, wasn't terrible. It just wasn't what he's been performing at. So we are playing Trent and Russ a little bit in 12. Just with Strother being out and Shelton being out, so that allows you to kind of move some things around a little bit, but not really. It's just the consistency in their performance, and every time there's an opportunity, someone is going to have a challenge in front of them to go and to seize that opportunity, and every opportunity is going to kind of present that, and you want to see who's going to go and who's going to go take it, and there's challenges in every opportunity because now. Yeah, the spotlight's on you. You're not going with the 2s, 3s. You're going with the 1s, and that expectation to perform is certainly much higher. And a lot of these guys have been here for a couple of years now, if not multiple years, and they work for their opportunity. So you got to go seize it when you have it, and that's the whole thing. I think that's why you do challenge them, because you want to see who can raise their level of play and who's going to meet the challenge head on and who's going to not handle it very well. And the guys that don't, well, it just means that they're not ready for that spotlight yet. And, you got to find out who is.
You mentioned Shelton maybe changing his timeline.
No, that was kind of a surprise. I mean, the diagnosis was correct in that it's bruised. It's just it was a deeper bone bruise, I think, than probably anybody anticipated. So he's feeling good. He's starting to do a lot of stuff in rehab. Where he's running and he's doing things. My biggest concern is just going to be the conditioning part. And so we got to get him into return to play at a pace that I think is fair to him. But certainly allows us to get, timing and tempo and things like that with him as well. So we just have to manage his workload as he comes back. But I mean, nobody wants to be back more than him. It's, he had a good summer, finished the summer really well. And then, the last day, it's kind of one of those, just kind of a freak thing that happens, non-contact that, it's just part of it sometimes.
During the scrimmage, the defensive line was able to get, moments of pressure. Tito Shakiri got back there for a couple of sacks. How important is it going to be for the D-line to continue to apply that pressure and be able to finish to get sacks as you head to the season?
What I like about our defense, I think, since this spring is we've been really aggressive in coverage and in pursuit, and not just pressures, but up front, we're letting those guys kind of tee off and play a little bit. And I think they've done a good job. I think anytime you're making the quarterback uncomfortable, it's important. Anytime that it's not even sacks, quarterback hits obviously accumulate, but even hurries and just, general pressure and making them uncomfortable, I think that helps you on the back end. So, that's always critically important. The faster you get back there, the less time you have to cover. But no, I thought there were a lot of good things in the scrimmage. I thought we moved the ball really well on offense. Thought we got some really good stops on defense in critical moments. I thought we were able to create some explosives in the throw game and the run game. I thought we flew around on defense. It wasn't all perfect on either side of it. There's still a lot of things to detail, but I've been pleased with our defensive line since the spring. And, I think those guys, when we got back to camp, I saw them all summer always doing work, always out there, doing extra and working together and doing all these things. And, there's no secret to it. The hard work shows up. And I think that's been the fun thing to see is those guys have played really well. And, I think it goes back to the work they've put in.
Also during the scrimmage, I noticed that Brent Gordon was playing on the outside as corner, but also I think he bumped inside at the star position. Just what does that say about his ability that you guys can give enough trust in him that he can be cross-trained similar at both of those positions?
Well, I think this stems back to last year, right? Whenever we lost, this is a twofold kind of answer to your question. Like last year when we lost Elam at nickel, it affected us on defense probably maybe more than we thought it would. We have Elam and Brent both playing inside and outside. They give us really good depth there. I think it takes a mature player and it takes a guy that really understands what you're doing on defense to be able to switch positions and move. It means they understand how the whole thing fits. And, Brent, he's a veteran. He's a true sophomore, but he's a veteran. He started 11 games last year and played really well in those games. He's got a lot of reps. The guy practices like a pro every day. He's focused and intent on what he's doing. So, a guy like him, and I don't think it's ever easy to play multiple positions, but for a guy like him, it's a whole lot easier. He and Elam both, honestly. They're so intent on what they do, and we trust them both, we need them both out there, and we need the best people in the best spots. It goes without saying you got to have your best 11 out there situationally, and I think cross-training those guys, gives us the ability to have some flexibility there.
Going back to receivers, Christian, you've had a lot of true freshman receivers. Is he more ready than most true freshman receivers, or how close is he, especially if your injuries continue at wide receiver, to being able to help you in games?
Oh, he's close. I think he really flashes in moments. You know what I mean? Like there's moments where it's really, really good, and there's freshman moments too, right? But no, he's really close. Christian is a guy that I expect probably at some point will play this year. How early, late, I don't know. I think it depends probably on the back half of camp goes. But he's another one that's a freshman, but he's really mature. He's come in here and he's really taken to it. He's detailed. He's intent on what the work that he does. He's made a lot of plays for us. yeah, I mean, you don't want to go out there with him having to go out there and be the primary guy game one as much as anything, because it's game one and there's all that stuff that goes in it. But no, he's really close. Honestly, at X, out of the X's, he's had the best camp out of the guys that are strictly playing X. Now we'll move things around as we need. When you get closer to the game, if you still have some limitations with injuries, but he's had the best camp at X, I would say, consistency wise, out of the guys that are there.
What have you liked out of the tight ends over the past week?
Well, I think Brock and Caden they've been Brock and Caden. I mean, they're really good in the run game. They're tough. They're hard-nosed. But in the throw game, they make a lot of plays down the field. That has been consistent with those two the entire camp. What I was saying is that, coming out of spring, I was not very comfortable with our depth in that position. It was something that I really, truthfully was losing some sleep over going in the summer. Just like, we got two that I know are really ready to play, and that's it. And I'm never comfortable without three at hopefully four. The guys I've been pleased with, and not that Brock and Caden have been great. I mean, there's no change, and those guys they're the starters, right? The co-star, whatever you want to call it. Those are the guys that are going to play the most. But Teddy Golick, Emiliano Saldivia, and Quandre Coates have stepped up and had really good camps. They have been much better in the assignment and the detail and what they're doing in the run game. They've made plays in the pass game. I don't know if anyone's made more progress in the throw game than probably Emiliano. Moved over from defense. Obviously, there was a lot of stuff he had to work through, but feel really good about the position now with those three guys and the way that they've attacked the first half of camp here. So I don't know. I mean, we're doing a lot of things right now where they're getting the ball and they're making plays and they're doing a good job running after the catch. They've made some great catches. They make the routine things look routine, which is what you want good players to do, right? Make the easy ones look easy. So I'm really pleased with the development in that group and feel much better about where we're at as far as depth goes with that position group.
Have the roles changed from what you thought coming out of spring before camp started on the offensive line? Starters are backups. Has anything changed role-wise or usage-wise, or what you remember?
Not really. I feel really good about. I think in the inside, guards and centers, I feel really good about that. And the depth that we have there. At tackle, we got to figure out who the fourth tackle is. Gooch is on his way back. I don't know how soon that'll be, but he's doing a lot more than he's done. I mean, he's not even in contact. Don't get me wrong, but he played really well last year when he played. But Zay and Jace are really competing. In that fifth spot at tackle. George has had a good fall camp, which is what we were hoping. He had to get himself into football shape a little bit. Just having missed the off season. But I'd say probably after the first 3 practices, that has gotten. He's practicing much better and he looks really good out there. So, in the interior, man, I feel like we've got, you got 4 or 5 guys that you feel really good about at tackle. Got 3 that we feel really good about right now. We need the 4th guy to kind of step up, and that's what we're doing right now. Is that's the juggling act, right? Is moving guys through there who performs when they go with the 1s or the 2s, and trying to figure out what the best option is there at the 4th tackle. I think. Some of those guys, and I don't like to call out by name guys that haven't, some guys that we were really pleased with early on, they've taken a little step, which happens, with young guys, it piles up, have taken a little step back. But we've got a few guys that have been here that we really need to go compete for that spot and getting that too deep. And I think we have the people to do it. We just got to figure out, who's that 4th, in case, the worst happens.
Which one of the inside guys could maybe go out to tackle, or it's not really?
No, that's Jace is the one that can play in and out. The rest of them, I mean, Caden Morrow and Coop and Jacoby and Matt B, they're all interior guys. Yeah, they're not swing guys.
You mentioned about how you guys were able to move the football during the scrimmage. One thing that I noticed is that sometimes Lunch would make the easy throws, just checking it down here and there. How important is that for his progression as a thrower of the football to sometimes just make the simple plays just as much as the big plays too?
Well, that's one of the things I think that's what a lot of people have had questions about with him. Like, what's the next step for him? What does he need to do? Not just to stay healthy, but what does he need to do to improve as a quarterback? Those are the things that he has to do, and that's what I'm really pleased with. I mean, he's been really accurate throughout fall camp. And we've challenged in the quarterback room to, 70% accuracy every day is what you're going for. 70% completions, I'm sorry, not accuracy is what we're going for. And it gives you something to really chase. And, what I like is, we had some shots down the field that, defense gets underneath the coverage and he takes the checkdowns. Now, do I think some of them could have been more accurate on the check down, things like that? Well, sure. I mean, there's always that, but 4 yards are 4 yards. Whether we run for 4 or we call 4 verts and you throw a check down for 4, it's still 4 and you're still moving the ball and you're moving forward. So that's the thing that I think I'm most pleased with his development is, he's just, and I tell him all the time, like the way that you can help this team is just by doing your job really well and not trying to do too much. And, we've talked a lot about, the quarterback runs and stuff we do with him. It's like, hey, most of that quarterback run, there's situations, where he's going to be the guy and he's got to go and he's got to get it. But most of the time it's hey, like you're the second or the third option. If there's something else out there, take it and let them get hit. Take one off of you. So he's done a really good job with that. Incredibly pleased with Daniel Beal. He's got his mojo back. And he, it's good to see, it happens, man, when you're young and you get shook a little bit. And he's back and he's really doing a good job. And Coleman Carter, man, is so talented. He's a young player still. It's exciting about what's in front of him. But, Lunch has certainly done a great job. He's leading that quarterback room really well. But those guys are competing really hard, to try to hit that 70% completions every day. And, that's what you want, is to set a high goal, and have them go after it. And they're chasing it pretty hard.
Where is Reagan right now in terms of his progress and what he could contribute?
So Anthony is one that, to be quite honest with you, after the spring, I don't want to say he was down. After the spring, wasn't sure. I felt like he was clearly the fourth out of the 4 guys. He's had a really good camp. He mixes in there really well. I would say day to day, it's a good thing to have. You got 4 of them, I think, that are playing really well. And, we've done this before. When you got a few of them that can play, you kind of play them and you ride the hot hand week by week, whoever that may be, however that goes. Still got time for guys to separate themselves, but Anthony has done a tremendous job. The things that we've asked him to do, make the physical run, not just the bounce home run. Understand when to put your foot in the ground and get vertical. He's been much better in pass pro and his blocking and things like that. So he has made a really conscious effort with the things that we've given him. Said, look, if you want to play here, like, you have to do these things better. I've been really impressed with his camp. Like I said, after spring, where I still had some questions, just questions about it. Really pleased with the camp he's put together.
Besides him and backup tight ends that you talked about, is there anybody else that a lot of us maybe didn't have on the 2 deep going into camp that might have earned a spot on the 2 deep now that you're getting close towards the end?
I'd say Harrison Kader is one that's climbing that ladder pretty fast. He's good. There's no 2 ways about it. The dude is physical, smart, and he can run. I don't see a scenario where he don't play this year. I'm not saying he's gonna go out there and go beat, Connor McPherson out. Don't get me wrong, but I don't see a scenario where the kid doesn't play. He'll probably be on all 4 cores to start week 1. He's a really good football player. I'm trying to think, nothing that no one that I can think of right off. He's one that jumps out just because it's been, I think with freshmen you always kind of like, we talked about Christian Brooks too, right? I think with freshmen you always kind of have hopes that, man, maybe they can do it, but you never really count on a true freshman doing it, right? It's just hard, and that he's just been one that's been really impressive. I think Luke Green is one that has had a great camp. He's like the safety. His approach to it is a safety version of what Brent's approach was. Like it's all football. He's very focused on what he's doing. He plays physical. He plays fast. He communicates really well. It's been fun to see him. He just, like I said, he just works every day. Like he's not a freshman as far as his mental approach to it.